Welcome to Maker Camp.
ArcAttack is going to be with us today. We're going to be talking to the man inside the Faraday suit, Joe DePrima. We'll also be learning about a program dedicated to teaching, training women music producers, and we're going to take on a guitar building challenge.
Plus today's project, the Arduino Theremin.
So let's get ready to make something great.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Camp Director Paloma.
I'm Camp Director Sam. As always, we look forward to hearing from you, so please post your questions and we'll ask them during the show.
And I want to bring on our first guest. Our first guest is one of the performers from ArcAttack, and you're going to meet this amazing high-voltage performer. But before we go to bring them on air, I want to roll a video. So let's go ahead and bring that video on. That was so fun. It looks great. And you know what, as someone who's seen them live, that's not even half of how awesome it is in person. So let's go ahead and talk with our guests. So welcome to Maker Camp.
Hello.
Hi. And so can you tell us what goes into a performance like that, and what the heck is it that we're looking at?
Right, so basically what you're looking at there are Tesla coils invented by Nikola Tesla, in the late 1800s. We've modified them basically so they're digitally controlled, and so we use a computer to control the pitch that they produce, and so we can use them as a musical instrument.
Very cool, very cool. It looks great and it sounds amazing and it's awesome. And you know, in the spring 2013 issue of Maker Camp, which I happen to have right here, you talked with us a little bit about starting in electronics and about just kind of working your way through from the beginning. So how did you get from where you started to working with Tesla coils and bringing rock and roll into that?
Yeah, I guess electronics have always been a hobby of mine. I started really, it was a biomedical technique. But most of my real electronics, like right after I got out of high school, stuff like that. And I think that it's really because all
All right, so I think we have an intro of a video of you working with electronics with everyday objects. So let's go ahead and roll that video and check it out. That looks so great. I love when you use interesting objects in ways that you wouldn't quite think of, and it comes across really well there. So
Yeah,
it's a great DIY music way to go. And Joe, I know that you have an application that you want to share with us. Can you talk with us a little bit about what that is and how you would use that?
Yeah, so I've been working on some computer software that does some or do you want me to just talk about it? You guys hear me all right?
Yeah, it seems like the audio is having a hard time coming through. So, you know, why don't we give the internet a little chance to calm down, because it was so excited about the Tesla coils it couldn't hear you. So we're gonna go ahead and let that give it a chance to catch up, and we're gonna jump on over to our next guest. So I'm really excited about bringing on this guest. And Sam, can you tell us a little bit about them?
Why not? They're from Women's Audio Mission. It's a nonprofit dedicated to training women in the audio recording and production industry.
Yeah, they have the Girls on the Mic program, and they do some amazing stuff. So I'm very excited to talk with the Women's Audio Mission. Welcome to Maker Camp. Sorry, you're going to have to unmute yourself if you want us to be able to hear you.
Okay, that's a little early,
Yay.
so the session is still going on. But if you guys could, sorry, we were rooting for 1119. Yeah.
Well, it looks really cool, and I'm excited to be able to come back to this in a few minutes because it's a great tease for what we're gonna be seeing. So
It's gonna be great.
yeah, it looks like you're having so much fun there. So we'll pop back over to you in just a minute, and campers, get your questions going for the Women's Audio Mission, because what they do is really great. They're teaching women how to work in sound engineering and to be able to do some really, really impressive things. And I think that we should jump on over to meet our other guests for today. Let's bring them all on. It'll be really fun. So we're going to jump on over to Jesse Harrington Au. We're bringing him on and see. You may remember Jesse Harrington Au from earlier in Maker Camp, the Makers in Motion Week. And Jesse, can you tell us what you're doing these days?
Yeah, so about a year ago we had this cool idea to make a bunch of guitars, because why not, right? And what we did is we took 13 people and we said, you have 6 days to build a guitar from scratch and we'll show you how. And we did it at Tech Shop San Francisco. And within the first night, everyone was able to customize their own design using 123D design. And then we were able to laser cut out just a stacked cardboard shape of it. And then the rest of it was all done by hand. So it's that synergism again with CAD meets craft. And now I have a guitar that I don't know how to play. So that's awesome.
Can we hear a demonstration of how it might sound?
Yeah, if one knew how to play one of these, it might sound... You know, and the coolest thing about these was that we were able to make them, and then, like, this has been in storage for about 4 months, and it hasn't gone on a tune at all because of the nature of the carbon fiber keeps everything stretched to the perfect length, and it's kind of awesome that way.
Nice.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, sometimes we have projects in the lab that involve working with stringed instruments, but when they sit there and they're not played for a long time, they totally go out of tune. So the carbon fiber, and then you also, I'm assuming, have really the things, the knob thingies.
So we have twisty knobs.
Okay. Yeah, the twisty knob thingies. Can you tell that I don't play a stringed instrument, campers? But those always unwind too. So do you have what did you use for that?
Actually, those are just, it was kind of a cool process. So after the cardboard, we found out that there's like luthier stores. So like luthier is someone who builds guitars, right? And we actually had to drive down to get special wood to make the faceplate with. And in the same store, it's like a certain kind of pine that it only comes from like Alaska and a couple other places. And then at the same store, they had these tuning nuts that we could buy, and these were the cheapest ones I could get. So these are $15 tuning nuts, but they look pretty decent, and they don't turn at all. So no problems there on that. And then everything else is kind of carved out by hand. So the nuts on the bridge were made by bone. And everybody that was in the workshop really customized their own, so none of the other ones look like this. They're all much better looking. But they all have kind of like their own personal flair to it. Yeah, and the reason why we did it that way with the carbon fiber was, I don't know if you can see it there, but it's all a rounded shape. So it's something that doing by hand any other way would be really tough to do, but because of the nature of 123D Make and be able to do stacked cardboard, we could lay it right on top of it and make these cool complex shapes.
Very cool. So is this the first time that you've ever worked with carbon fiber?
Yeah, totally. And Blaine, who helped on the car, also helped on this, so he was able to teach us a little bit about it. It's really not bad to work with. We got a marine-grade epoxy, which we set on top of it because we didn't want it to smell very bad. And then we all bought a bunch of lab coats because we wanted to look cool. And then also,
yeah, I hear people tend to wear lab coats when they want to look cool, but they really just don't have it within them to look very cool. So I can totally understand that.
That's true.
Yeah, that's all me.
Yeah, well, it looks really great, and it sounds fantastic as well. I never would have thought that using carbon fiber would keep the strings from going out of tune. That's really an interesting coincidence from that. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I'm kind of curious, how did you all use the same carbon fiber and the same resin, and how did that affect the way that you were able to customize it?
Yeah, so we all were able to use the same stuff. So what we did is we said, you know, we have 6 people, or we have 13 people and 6 nights, and they all had day jobs. So we're able to bring them in and have them do that. And so we basically supplied all the basic stuff that would be hard for them to get, such as the carbon fiber and the bridge boards and all of that type of material.
Okay. And then you were there to instruct them with the software and everything that led them through the process.
Yeah, and that was the easy part. I mean, the software and getting the shape of the guitar was all within the first night. After that, it was 5 nights of absolute hell to try to figure out, you know, how to form this stuff and to get your hand unstuck from it. One of our participants was 12 years old. He was also the only one that knew how to play a guitar, so he was able to finish his with his father, who was also in the workshop. And then the end of the 6th night, we all got to, you know, we had to stand up in front of everybody else and play a song, or attempt to. But yeah, it was some pretty good stories, and you know, people really, really put themselves out there for it, which I think was kind of the impressive part.
That's terrific. Did you just use 123D Design, or was there anything else that came into actually leading you through the physical prototyping of the guitar?
Yeah, so most people use 123D Design. A couple of people used Inventor because it was at Tech Shop and they had the access to that higher level software. And then from there, we exported it right into Make, which is the software that, you know, slices things up into cardboard profiles, and that's kind of what gave us the cool profile at the back. And from there, we were software off. You know, some people got really fancy with it and used a laser cutter to cut the hole in the middle and to do all the, you know, all the faceboard stuff. And there's some really great instructables about, you know, how people did that and how they watercolored the front and did all the custom work to it. It's kind of funny, like when you really probably think you're going to build so many guitars in your lifetime. Probably like one. So people really took it to heart and like wanted to make sure that they got every single little thing in there, as opposed to, you know, doing what I did, which is like, I'll get the first one done, and if it makes a noise, I'm going to be so happy.
That's great. And you know what, the kind of things that you're touching on here are very similar to stuff that we've been talking about all week, where if you set these limitations on your work, like having, you know, all using the carbon fiber, all using the same knobs, the same this, the same that, you get, you know, you still can get wildly different products because everybody sees the same materials in a different way. So I really love that you can really exemplify that with these beautifully different guitars. So can you tell us maybe another example of how that setting limitations on your projects has helped you maybe see something in a different way?
Yeah, you know, as a background, I was a product designer, so that's kind of my thing, is always setting some sort of limitation. So everything from doing these to, we built some watches. We actually, we have a contest every week to see who can make the most destructive thing. So one day we made these like just easy like slingshots, and the constraint was that you could only spend $3, and it had to come from the hardware store next door. So this is just bent aluminum and, you know, some tie off, and then duct tape for the edging. But then you had to shoot a Whopper into a light bulb across the parking lot. It was good. But you know, one of the better days at work. But there's all those type of things. Yeah. I think cost restraints tend to be the best, especially when you're, like, so many people talk about building stuff for other people or building stuff for people in developing countries. And I think, you know, when you look at cost restraints and really try to make a fun prototype without spending a lot of money, you know, the carbon fiber is probably the most I've ever spent on anything, and it really wasn't that expensive.
Wow, that's great. I love that idea. And I know that you were able to do some really cool stuff with your DIY Roadster, too. Like, it was awesome. I loved being able to talk with you about that. So, campers, go back and check that one out as well. That was a really fun hangout in week 1, where we were able to really see these fantastic cars that you built. And Jim was still geeking out about it. He loves that thing. So we've had a really good time. So now we're going to go ahead and check back in with Joe and see how he's doing over there. Hi, Joe. How's it going?
You hear me now?
We can hear you pretty well. We might have to speak slowly and carry a big stick, but I think we'll be fine.
Okay, cool. We got Sam here now, too.
Did Sam fix the internet? Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, thanks, Sam.
Yeah, thanks for nothing. Yes, it did.
All right, awesome. So can you tell us, because I'm really excited about this software. You were telling us a little bit about it beforehand, but can you tell us about, maybe show us a screen share of what it is that you were you were using and why it's so awesome and important for people who are musically not so very inclined?
Yeah, sure. Hold on just a second.
All right.
All right. Can you see this now?
Yes, I can see something. Let's see if we can bring up that screen. Let's see.
Let me know when you can see it. I'll start bringing.
Yeah, I'm seeing a blank screen. Let's see. Temperamental internet. It's very temperamental. You know, I think we're just going to have to post a link to that software on the community page so that campers can check it out yourself. And then it's a fun tease because now you've got to research something, campers. You've got to leave Maker Camp and research something and report back your findings. Go on an internet exploration of this really cool stuff, and it's really cool. So we'll post something on the community page later today with a link to that software because it's really great. It allows you to choose a scale that you're interested in. It'll show you the chords that will work with that and allows you to really interface with music. So, you know, Sam, can you tell us a little bit about the music that we've had in the lab electronically?
Oh, we've played a little bit with the Tesla coils of the lab. We had a kit that was actually given to us by ArcAttack. It was a very fun thing.
Thank you. It was awesome.
And thank you so much for showing us how to make music with it. And apologies very much on my behalf for blowing it up one day.
Yep, that's Sam.
And I noticed something earlier when you were showing us some of the images of your Tesla coil drivers, that you had fiber optic connections to actually communicate between the instruments and the coils. So campers, make note that any time you're trying to send a signal to a Tesla coil, you want to do it with light or some other non-conductive medium rather than use a wired connection that the coil could possibly arc to and potentially, hypothetically, fry itself a little bit.
Hypothetically, potentially, Sam.
To be fair, it did still make sparks after that. It still had the onboard frequency controller working and the onboard amplitude controller working, but the signal line was down a little bit after that.
Yeah, a little bit, and then we finally had Brian give that one a nice final farewell. You know, we in Make Labs, we really like to understand things completely, and sometimes that means blowing them up catastrophically. It happens.
It's the particle accelerator theory of learning how something works. You just smash them together really hard and find out what's on the inside.
So next time we get a very nice gift, we'll just get a hammer and find out how it works. So Sam, can you tell us a little bit about some other precautions that you might need when working with crazy high voltage things?
Definitely make sure that it has a safer path to ground than you.
Good idea.
Yes.
Good idea.
So like a strike point in the case of a Tesla coil or something keeping your hands far away from it.
Dan could learn from that a little bit.
He could learn a little bit. He does know quite a few things, though.
Yeah, I mean, Dan very much likes to just have it arc to his hand, so don't trust Dan.
Which you can do, if you're going to do that one hand at a time, you might want to take some rope or duct tape and make sure that the other hand is behind you. And at the worst case scenario, there will sort of enter one finger and leave out the other, but not try to make it all the way through your arms.
Yeah, not the best idea.
You want to avoid both, but you definitely want to avoid the second one.
Yeah, that's not great. Yeah, we've had so much fun with high voltage, and also if you want to see another really fun high voltage project, this one, not so easy to try at home, but there's some really great video out there of when we got it to work. It's the nuclear fuser. Great project to learn about science and technology. You actually use a neon sign transformer and a vacuum to create a vacuum in a chamber, so it sucks out a lot of the oxygen and all of the air molecules. You get just very little of them. We actually have a little mini one right here, which is very nicely placed. And so you take this vacuum and you suck out the air. So you still have air molecules in here, but not as many. And then you use the neon sign transformer. There's a little coil in here, which might not pick up too well on camera. There, kind of, yeah, maybe. So there's some really great pictures online up close of the larger version of this. So check that out. And you ionize the air, and it all smashes towards the center using science and things. And so then you actually create a ball of plasma in the center. It creates this beautiful light display. So that one's really, really fun. and you should check
Star
out
in
the
a Jar
video.
project.
Star in a Jar, yeah, check that out. It's very, very fun, for sure. I love that project. I'm gonna put this back over here where it does things that are cool. Hold on. Yeah, science.
Go
Cool.
for it. And now, what do you think about going back to Women's Audio Mission?
Yeah, I think it's about time that we check back in with the Women's Audio Mission. They could tell us a little bit about what they do, and show us kind of a demonstration of that. So hi, thank you for joining us.
Hi guys, my name is Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
I'm Sammy.
Hi, Sammy.
And we're here at Women's Audio Mission. What is Women's Audio Mission? Well, we're a nonprofit based in San Francisco dedicated to advancing women in the recording arts. So what that means is different types of jobs in sound engineering. So that's live sound, that's recording, that's sound for film. And we do that a few different ways here. We're the only all-female run recording studio in the world. And we're also a place where girls and women can take classes in recording arts and sound engineering. And just the reason it's only for women is less than 5% of sound engineering jobs right now are women. So, or people in those jobs are women. So our goal is just raising those numbers and just making more women aware of these jobs in the music industry. And this is Sammy here. She is in the band The She's, which is a really popular band in San Francisco. And she started here at our youth program, which I'm the coordinator of, called Girls on the Mic. So if you want to take it from here, Sammy?
Sure. Yeah, we actually started because we recorded here at Women's Audio Mission. We recorded our first album here, and we had never really done recording before, so that was really exciting. We were in like 7th grade maybe, and even though we were only like 12 or whatever, Terry Winston, who owns Women's Audio Mission, encouraged all of us to come back as interns and take the classes. So we were like 12 and 13 taking classes with adult women. Like I was in Kelly's first class too, which was super rad, and learning the tech side of the industry. And we had done a lot of performing already, and gotten to experience like the artist side of things. But we realized it was super important to like also learn the tech side so that we had more control over our sound, which is a part of Women's Audio Mission's goal, is to give women the power to have control over their sound as well as their like artist persona.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I'm the youth coordinator for our Girls on the Mic program, but I'm also, the reason I became part of Women's Audio Mission is I started taking classes here, and then I became a freelance sound engineer. So I work in recording and live sound, and that's all because of Women's Audio Mission and the classes they have here. So what we're doing today, actually, the reason we couldn't talk earlier is we have an actual recording session going on. So we were recording, and our head engineer here, Terry Winston, was controlling the session, basically, but also Sammy and our intern who's on the camera right now, Veronica. This is kind of one of the sessions they are leading. So we have a few takes of a song here over on Pro Tools. And what they're going to do now is just mix the song. So we'll make sure you guys can hear it through our monitors so we can test it out. And then they're going to mix the song. So
Sounds great. Yeah, and while you get that set up, I just want to say that I really appreciate the mission that you have, getting women into, and anybody who's not, women or people of color, getting them into positions that are not traditionally held by them. It's not only just great to have them in there for numbers, but it's also, you get a whole different perspective on things, and so it's really great to be able to have programs like this that allow people into careers where they maybe thought that they couldn't do that before. So as a woman going into robotics engineering, I appreciate that a lot. So thank you so much for that mission and for sharing it with us.
Yeah, of course. It means a lot to us here. And like growing up in San Francisco, taking math and physics classes, like being the only girl in those classes, encouraged by Women's Audio Mission, was super scary. But it's totally a real thing. And Women's Audio Mission definitely like opened my eyes to that. So that was really cool. to experience.
Awesome. So I'm so excited to see what you are all working on. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is you're doing and show
Yeah.
us what's
So,
going on?
yeah, our session today is a pretty basic one. We just have one woman in here named Jen, and she's playing acoustic guitar and singing. And it's an interesting session because she actually lost her voice for a while. So one of our goals is to mix the guitar in a way that complements her voice that's like not as powerful as it's not like 100% there yet. So that's kind of our challenge. But yeah, we just have one guitar and like four mics. um, yeah.
So this is Kelly again. I'm off camera, but I could kind of narrate since they need both hands to mix.
Great.
So just before we start, why don't you guys turn up one of those microphones and just let's get a level for the monitors and make sure they can hear. So just play it. Oh, can you make sure? Just like go to the middle of the song. Can you guys hear that in there?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
we
coming.
can.
Yeah, it's coming through.
Great. Cool. So you could turn that down again. So in the beginning of a mix, say we recorded a few songs and now we're getting ready to mix and be mix engineers. You start with all the different instruments down, and then you add to it piece by piece. And a few things they might play around with is something called pan, where you put the microphone either in the left or right speaker or somewhere in the middle. And they also can play around with the EQ, which is changing the frequencies that are coming out. So you can boost different frequencies or pitches. So you can have more of the high frequency, more of the low frequency. So yeah, so go ahead, guys. So they're listening to the different guitar mics right now. Just seeing what levels they want each microphone for the guitar. It's pretty crazy to think that one guitar would get 4 mics, but it really kind of opens up the sound of it and also gives you a lot of options for mixing. Cool. And 2 of the microphones, we have them stereo, meaning one is going all the way left and one is going all the way right. I don't know if they could see it over here, but basically they turned the pan knobs. So one's going all the way left and one's going all the way right.
And what can panning do for the experience of the user? What does that kind of help them understand or feel? Like, why do you do that?
That's a great question. So the reason they do that is it kind of opens up space for other instruments. So basically, if you have a lot of different guitar mics, it kind of just opens up space. You can bring one all the way to the left, and I'm not explaining this right. How to explain pan to them?
Well, for me as an artist, why I like pan is because when you're on stage or listening to a concert and like the guitarist is on the left and like the bassist is on the right, and then a drum setup obviously is like a spatial thing. So when you're panning drums, it's really common to pan it like from the drummer's perspective, for example. So like the floor tom is where the drummer would actually be playing the floor tom, and the snare is actually over here in the crash. So like it feels like you're in a room with the instruments rather than just one space at you the whole time. Which is nice as an artist. I like to appreciate that.
Okay, so it kind of helps you feel like you're surrounded by the band.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. And I never would have really thought about having that. But I think that once you listen to it, and like we said a couple of episodes ago, if people are doing their sound jobs correctly, you won't notice that they've done it because it feels so natural and real and perfect. So that's really great.
Yeah, a lot of mixing, whether you're doing live sound or recording, is really just finding a unique space for every instrument in the band. So, like Sammy was saying, you might want to put the pan the bass to the left, and that gives more room to the vocal in the center, if that makes sense, or the kick drum in the center, because there's certain things we want right in our face, and there's certain things you kind of want to the side, just like how a band is set up. Do you guys want to play around with EQ and see if they can hear that? So maybe pick out like two of the mics for the guitars. And why don't you put a lot of low frequency in and then take it all out, just so listeners can hear the difference. Here, I'll start over. You might want to turn. Is it high enough for you guys?
You can turn it up a little bit.
Yeah, you can turn it up a little bit, and we might be
You
able
guys
to.
want to turn up the monitors? I'll do it. Yeah. Is that with a lot of bass? So remember, you have to put EQ in, or else it's not. So that's really a lot of low end. Can you guys hear the low end? So put it in and out so they can hear the difference. So that's without the boost, and now here's with the boost. That's a lot of low frequencies, or now take them all out. So that's without the low frequencies. Why don't you try the high end? Do the same thing.
Great. You know, it's so interesting to be able to kind of understand music in a deeper way, because I'm mostly a consumer of music. And so when something is beautifully mixed, you don't really notice it, but once somebody kind of explains it to you, you really start to pick it up and think about that in a really interesting way. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I bet a lot of our campers are very, very interested in mixing and sound and music themselves. Do you have any tips for campers who might be just getting into this now, who might want to take their first steps in sound mixing?
Yeah, I mean, as an artist, if you want to record yourself, what we usually do is, like, if you're in a band, we start with bass and drums, because those are, like, the rhythm parts. And then, like, even what we did in the session today, instead of starting with bass and drums, we started with rhythm. So, like, that's, like, the basic tracks. And then we added a ton of guitar overdubs. So the cool part about being a producer is you can figure out how you want to layer it, and, like, choose it yourself. And then for panning, just have fun with it. EQing. Frequencies are important because, like, a good rich sound is full of, like, a ton of different frequencies. So, like, a really basic thing is, like, just making sure every instrument has its own frequency range, so that, like, the bass and the kick drum aren't conflicting and, like, not filling up the same space. You know, you want them to have their own spaces so that you can hear everything really well. And, like, a good mix will sound natural. Like you were saying, like, you don't want to notice it. Like, it's fun to EQ vocals so they sound like a radio voice, like all high end. But if you want, like, a good clean mix, you're gonna want, like, a full range of frequencies. Just keep that in mind. I don't know, it's kind of complicated. But.
Yeah, but it's really interesting, and I think that it's given the people watching a really great spot to start to jump off, to be able to really start to understand sound and music in a different way. And I hope that they go and listen to their favorite music and try to pick out, put your headphones in and listen to the pan, listen to how rich the sound sounds. Is there a lot of low or high frequency? I'd like to hear campers maybe just pick your favorite song, listen to it, and then post on the community page your experience with that. So thank you so much for sharing this. I know that you had to come to us in the middle of your session, so I really appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully we'll have some questions from campers for you in a couple of minutes. But first, I want to jump on over to Sam and Joe's Corner, because they have a great video for us this week. Remember earlier this week we had the Kirsten Mate from Skywalker Sound talking about mixing sound with video. So keep that in mind when you're watching Sam and Joe's Corner. Let's check it out.
Hey guys, this week we're going to be talking about sound effects and sound design. If you like making your own music, and especially if you make your own movies, both these topics will come in handy.
So when you're purchasing a microphone, it's important to keep in mind that there are lots of different types. This is a shotgun mic, which means it has a very directional recording area that extends pretty far. This makes them very useful for recording specific sounds and negating anything else in the area. For on-the-go recording, one of my favorite tools is the Zoom Handy Recorder. This is really great for recording sound effects wherever you are, since it's pretty small, portable, and it's all self-contained with 2 mics on board already. If you're recording outside a lot, it's important to have a shield like this, which dampens the effect that wind has on the recording. This is a condenser microphone. We use this a lot for recording voiceovers, since, like a shotgun mic, it has a very narrow recording area, but it also picks up very clean, crisp audio for voices. One of the most important things you can remember while recording sound effects is that you need really good quality headphones. Having all the recording equipment is only half the battle, though. The other half is learning how to identify good sound effects in everyday life. Having a library with different sound categories is a really good way to keep track and make sure that you don't lose any sound effects when going from project to project. If something you're trying to record doesn't actually end up sounding very interesting in real life, commonly what you'll actually have to do is record lots of different sounds that you layer to make the final sound effects. In one of my recent films, I had a scene where a large gate was opening. So I've got all my components recorded for my big gate opening sound, but all of them lack the punch that I want. So what I'm going to do is mix them a little bit and try to get a really big, menacing sound of a massive metal gate opening. The first step of that is going to be having the sound of the big bolt of the gate sliding open. So what I recorded for that is the sound of my front door. When editing, it's a good idea to have your speakers at about 3/4 or 2/3 volume. If your sound effects seem to lack bass notes or lower frequencies, one thing you can do is add what's called a low-pass filter. This will filter out most of the higher frequencies and leave just the lower ones. And you can extend how many frequencies that it filters out. If I add my bass effect, I can increase the bass of the desired sound until it sounds about the way I want it to. So one thing you can also do is try slowing the effect down. So now I've got all my levels adjusted, and I'm pretty happy with the result.
I'm Sam.
I'm Joe.
And we'll see you guys next week.
That was a really great video, and you may notice that some things have changed. It's subtle. I'll give you a minute to figure it out. But while you're taking that time to figure out what might have changed in our frame, we're going to go ahead and check out the cancelers and see if we've got some questions for today's guests.
Andrew, how's it going?
Great. We have so many questions for all of these wonderful guests today. First, Sam and Vishal want to know, what are Tesla coils made of, and how do you produce the power needed for a Tesla coil from an 120-volt power outlet?
Well, we can start by talking about this Tesla coil here. So, Sam, do you want to talk with us, because this is one that's from our lab itself. Do you want to talk with us a little bit about maybe what materials we have here?
Sure. We have a homemade secondary winding. This is missing the primary coil that goes along the outside, typically, bottom of it. Could be slightly conical, could be flatter there. This is just the secondary hand winding. I'm going to estimate it took Dan about 30 hours to wind this by hand.
It's very, very even.
It has to be very even. A single crossover will give you a massive amount of trouble, so it has to be perfectly spaced along there. And then the whole thing is coated in enamel to keep it protected from any damage that might happen. All that goes up to your top toroid, which in this case was made out of, I think, 8 separate vacuum-formed pieces wrapped in aluminum foil. ArcAttack has a few different methods on theirs. Sometimes they use just round bars stacked up, layered, and all connected electronically together. But the idea is that you have some very wide extension on top.
Yeah, so let's see if we could jump over to ArcAttack and they can tell us a little bit about their Tesla coils.
Can you guys actually hear us?
Yes, I think we can. Fingers across.
Sam, do you want to talk a little bit about our Tesla coil and what they differ from a normal Tesla coil?
Our Tesla coils use something called transistors, which allow us to switch the electricity in the primary circuit. The original Tesla coil used a cold patch, And since we use transistors in our system, it allows us to actually control them digitally, which allows us to make it easier to computer show.
When we switch transistors, we're not talking about like a $7 computer tax card. We're talking about $300 transistor that's about a time and a half.
And so can you maybe show us a little bit about, can you maybe show us the Tesla coil? Maybe we can see it working in the background there. Or is it, hopefully it's hooked up.
Actually, I think we have another one here, Sam, don't we? Yeah, I think I was saying he's going to plug in another one.
And I saw that you were wearing a Maker Faire shirt, so I think we should go with the tell of show and tell here. I really enjoy seeing, you can't appreciate them until you see them go.
Yeah, just give us 1 second here. We lost our ground.
I think it's right below your feet. Come on.
I can talk about this guy a little bit here. This is what you guys have at the drop.
That looks familiar.
Yeah.
The Thunder Mouse here. So yeah, they were talking about this earlier. This is basically our ArcAttack home edition. Power off 110, plug into the wall. Unfortunately, this is not working right now. This is you guys know Joey, Marshmallow Cannon, Joey, the president at the Marshmallow.
Oh yeah, Joey Hootie. His mom had her Maker Camp group yesterday.
This is his Tesla coil, and we're actually fixing the coil. The other Tesla coil that we have is this guy right here.
Oh yeah, so just a real simple one there.
Like, it's totally simple, you know. It's just kind of your stock death ray Tesla coil. This was designed by Ford. And what's really cool about this one, I don't know how long you guys can see that.
We can see that.
Yeah, that's coming through pretty well.
Yeah, for a second. Fair warning, this might crash the computer, so if we lose signal.
We're prepared for awesome explosions of awesome.
It'll be for a good cause.
Yeah.
So, what type of high voltage safety precautions do you need to take when operating a handheld Tesla coil death gun?
What kind of high voltage? Yeah, safety precautions do we need?
Safety precautions do we need?
Yeah, we'll have Joe answer this question here.
Yeah, so basically, I think the main thing is that when we're using Tesla coils on stage, there's always one person that is dedicated to watching something is even a little bit weird and all this gets shut down. Aside from that, we use solid barricades to keep the crowd from getting too close. And yeah, aside from that, we just the most important thing is you got to be able to make making it complicated. A lot of times, it's actually kind of complicated. And so I think that's the most important thing.
We have about 3 or 4 different ways that we can shut off the chip.
So thank you so much for sharing about the amazing handheld Tesla coil. That's awesome, cool. And thank you so much for hanging out with us. I think we might have another question from the counselors, so let's jump on over and hear what y'all have to say.
Cal asked Jesse, how does carbon fiber hold up over time, and what are the acoustic properties?
Oh, great question.
The carbon fiber really holds up amazingly over time, especially we used a slower drying, what's called a marine grade epoxy. It takes a little bit longer to dry, so it took an overnight to cure. And then once it's dry, though, I could actually, I tried to use this as a hammer once, and it worked pretty well. So it's pretty durable, and it will last what seems to be forever because of the way the epoxy works. And then the sound qualities are really interesting. So the acoustic quality changes, obviously, on the shape of the guitar. And the fact that everyone's was different, they all had a little bit of different tone to it. We thought the carbon fiber would make the tone, but it's a lot more based on the shape. So where mine is a little bit deeper, some people's were very, very bright and out front, and other people's were extremely deep and bassy. It really had to do all in the shape of that. And then inside of here, you can't really see it, but there's slatted boards that go all the way across to keep this tensile strength up, and that's what makes the tight snare noise, and that has a lot to do with the sound quality.
That's really interesting. It totally makes sense now that you think about it, but the sound, the shape of it would cause the reverberations to be different and have a different sound. But it's really very interesting. So thank you so much for sharing that. Cal, you always have really great questions coming through, so thank you so much for bringing those to us. And I want to jump back to our counselors to talk about what you campers have been working on and to share a little bit about today's daily project.
Right. So this week, we've had makers at the Fabriano Public Library making sound effects for their movies.
Very cool. I can see so many things in there that could be used. And I love the collaboration here, people working together to create something awesome. That's how you get the best work. And a giant projector doesn't hurt.
Nope.
At the Wonderland Science Museum, makers are making some amazing textile projects.
Those look great. I am terrible at sewing, but it gets me inspired to give it another shot.
It's a good skill. You should pick it up sometime.
Yeah, and the tie-dye looks fantastic. Counselor Pierre was very excited to get his first tie-dye shirt.
Yes, he was. At the Excel Maker Camp, they're exploring Arduinos and Makey-Makeys.
Happy faces working with Makey-Makey. Such a great beginner project and allows you to really customize your sound. So I had so much fun with them yesterday. They were just the best guests. And counselors, can you talk with us about today's daily project?
Yeah, so today's daily project is a bit more advanced of a project than we've done in the past. It's the Arduino Theremin. It's a fun first Arduino project. It just uses a few simple components, a breadboard and a shield. And let me plug this thing in. And you can control the pitch by light. So the closer you are, the darker, the deeper the sound, the farther away, the brighter the sound. And if you want to make a different sound, you can actually reprogram the code to allow you to choose different pitch ranges. Another project we actually have for today, which is a bit simpler, uses just a few components, so a piezo speaker, some wire, and allows you to sonify any object around your house, such as the skateboard ramps, which our guests the other day used from SkateHack.
So make sure to share pictures of your projects on the community page, and we'll share them on the next Hangout. Back to you guys at Maker Camp HQ.
Thank you, counselors. It's such a fun project, so campers, I can't wait to see what you do with it. And you know what? I just want to thank everybody who is on today. You are such inspiring makers, and the work that you're doing with sound and technology is just absolutely great. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Yes. And be sure to tune in tomorrow when we'll be going to Las Vegas. We're going to be going backstage at the Monte Carlo to meet the Blue Man Group.
Oh, I'm so excited. Can you tell that I'm excited for Blue? So we can't wait to see you tomorrow for that show. It's going to be amazing. So remember to tune in. And campers, if you were inspired by anything that you saw on the show today, remember, do try this at home. Goodbye, campers.
Bye.